Madam Mayor, members of council, citizens of Columbia Heights, I'm Library Director Renee Doherty, and this is the proposed 2022 library budget. To place our conversation and common work in context, I draw your attention to the library's mission and vision statements. Next, I would like to share the impact of COVID-19 on your library. The graph illustrates monthly library visitors in 2019, 2020, and year-to-date 2021. As you can see from the green line, visitor counts are still roughly half of what they were pre-COVID. Clearly, given the surge in the Delta variant this fall, people continue to be uncomfortable gathering indoors in public spaces. This in spite of the fact that the library has increased open hours twice in 2021, from 32 to 40 hours per week in February, and from 40 to 47 hours per week in September. Computer usage is also less than half of pre-pandemic levels, partly due to decreases in visitors and also because half of the computers have been taken out of service to maintain distance between people sitting in place for up to 90 minutes. Programs have been impacted by the transition to the virtual realm, with many students and adults expressing exhaustion with Zoom and a hunger for person-to-person connection. However, after bringing back live programming in person this fall, some adult programs are experiencing an almost 50% no-show rate. The bright spot continues to be circulation, which comes closest to pre-pandemic service levels. On to the budget. The proposed 2022 library budget incorporates an overall increase of 5% with no capital outlay. Personal services is the largest portion of the library budget, making up 2/3 of the whole. No changes in staffing or service delivery model are proposed. I anticipated a 2% increase, mainly for cost of living adjustments, because all library staff have reached the top of their respective pay scales. I continue to work to bring consistency to this portion of the budget. In past years, personal services has been underspent due to unanticipated position vacancies, delays in hiring replacements, staff absences with no available substitutes, and the temporary closure of the building and furloughing of part-time staff due to the stay-at-home order. The goal here is to staff the building while redeploying the director out of direct public service and into leading and managing the library operation. The supplies section includes a 30% increase due to the need to replace computer hardware, software, and service contracts for the public computers used by library patrons, and to update the software on staff PCs. City IT recommends that these updates, estimated at about $30,000, happen in 2022. The public computers were purchased in 2016 when we moved into the new building, and they see heavy use 6 days a week. Also, the operating system used by the public virtual desktops will not accept necessary Microsoft software upgrades. The other services and charges section includes a 3% increase, mostly for utilities, which I estimated at 4% over actual expenditures in 2020. Since 2020, the budget projections have matched actual expenditures for utilities, thanks to the fine-tuning of the heating and air conditioning to maximize comfort and efficiency. Let's hope for a mild winter and stable natural gas and electricity rates in 2022. Finally, the contingencies and transfers section anticipates a 4% increase for the library's share of common city services such as administration and finance. Although the 2022 budget proposes a 5% increase in expenditures, I am proposing an increase to the library levy of only 2.5%, well below the current rate of inflation. I propose a drawdown of library fund balance to fund the computer hardware replacements and software upgrades. Library fund balance is hovering around 60% of our annual budgets. The Council has recommended that fund balances be maintained at roughly 45%. The 2022 revenue projection also proposes the elimination of overdue fines. One of the dominant trends in American libraries today is to stop imposing fines for the late return of borrowed materials. In 2019, the American Library Association asserted that the imposition of monetary library fines creates a barrier to the provision of library and information services. The ALA encouraged all libraries to move toward eliminating fines and reducing dependence on fine revenue. Across the US and Canada, libraries are following the suggestion of the ALA. Eliminating overdue fines has become a national movement. Cities like Madison, Wisconsin, Chicago, Detroit, most recently New York City, Indianapolis, Philadelphia, Louisville, Tampa, New Orleans, Dallas, Albuquerque, Scottsdale, Los Angeles, Salt Lake City, Tacoma, Boise, Billings have all eliminated fines. At their June 23, 2021 meeting, the Columbia Heights Library Board recommended the elimination of overdue fines effective January 1, 2022. I'd like to share some of the discussion underlying the board's decision. They started with definitions to make sure we were all talking about the same thing. Overdue fines are a penalty imposed on people who return a borrowed library item after its due date. In Columbia Heights, we currently charge 30 cents a day for adult materials and 10 cents a day for youth materials for every day they are late. Overdue materials do not cost the library anything. They're frustrating for the next person waiting for that book, but they have no net cost. The library also charges fines for damage or replacement when a book is more than 30 days past due. The board is not recommending the elimination of fines for lost and damaged items, just overdues. If you return a book after having dropped it in the bathtub, we are still going to charge you damage for that book. If you check it out and keep it, once it is 30 days past due, we are going to charge you a replacement cost for that book. Fines for lost and damaged items will continue. The board looked at actual revenue generated by fines, and they're not a reliable source of income. Revenue from fines has been in steady decline for the last 10 years for a variety of reasons. Last year, we collected $4,400 in fine revenue. That's not chicken feed, but it's not a lot of dollars when you look at the whole library budget. If the cost of a new book is $25, $4,400 is about 150 new books. The board also felt that fines create a barrier to using the library, which is felt more acutely by lower income people. Part of the purpose of the public library is to allow people to borrow books instead of buying them, to borrow videos instead of signing up for Netflix. The library's role is to help people stretch their dollars during tough times. In the past, it was assumed that fines were a way to teach personal responsibility. Current thinking is that libraries are a service of local government, and it is not the role of government to teach morality or personal responsibility. The board considered the relationship of the library with the Columbia Heights Public Schools. In 2019, only about 35% of tested students were proficient in reading. Eliminating barriers to reading is a goal of the library and would strengthen our partnership with the school district in making Columbia Heights a 21st century community learning center. Eliminating fines would demonstrate the city's commitment to equitable service for all citizens, and it's good for our public image. Libraries that have eliminated fines experience increases in the number of library card applications and in the number of items borrowed. So eliminating overdue fines is an inexpensive way to grow business. The library board concluded that their mission was to welcome people to our local library, not shame them or penalize them for tardiness. Someone who feels shamed may never return to the library again, and they may prohibit their children from using the library out of fear of owing money. In Minnesota, libraries in large and small cities have gone fine-free for everyone. Brooklyn Center, Duluth, New Brighton, Maplewood, St. Anthony, Rochester, Hibbing, Stillwater, Brainerd, Worthington are all overdue fine-free for their cardholders. Other Minnesota cities have focused on youth. There are no fines for youth under 18 in St. Cloud, Elk River, Northfield, Red Wing, or Owatonna. Here's a comparison of Minnesota library cardholders and how they are subject to library fines, using cardholder data from the 2019 Minnesota Public Library Annual Report. At the end of 2019, almost 3 million Minnesotans had library cards. Over 1.5 million of them don't ever have to worry about paying an overdue fine. So now you've heard the library board's recommendation. What do you think? Should we join our peers and eliminate overdue fines in Columbia Heights? This concludes the proposed 2022 library budget. Thank you so much for your ongoing support of the library.